Hey, good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Jonathan McGowan, and I'm a solutions architect with ConnectALL. Now, today I'm very excited to talk to you about automations and how to visualize and manage flow across your software delivery value stream with purpose-specific automations. So we're going to be covering some of the new stuff that we've got in our 2.11 version. And I know we've got just a few minutes, so I'm going to kind of try to keep us on time here, and we'll get through this. But I've got some really interesting concepts that I want to talk about today. As I said, we've got a brand new 2.11 version that we just released about a month ago, and this is the first in our series of webinars about really how to control your value stream and control the flow like you have never before. Today, we're going to be focused on what you see in the bottom left in this corner, left corner of the screen, where we are going to accelerate and remove the waste in your value stream using automation types. And those automation types have several different flavors, as we will discuss here momentarily. So first, I want to start off by asking a question. Okay, and that question, really, what does it mean to integrate something? You know, the word integration gets thrown around a lot, and we talk about how we want to take these things and integrate them together. And that word comes up a lot, specifically in value stream management. So I want to take a moment to step back and really ask ourselves, what does it really mean to integrate something? As its base definition, integrate is just taking something and incorporating it into something else. You're uniting two things. You're taking something and making it part of a whole, a whole unit somewhere else. And that's really what it means to integrate. Is just taking all the different parts and then putting them together into something that's whole. This works with processes too. Whenever we consider something like an integrated value stream, what we're doing is we're just taking all the different parts of a value stream, all the different tools that exist in a value stream, and we're thinking about how they interact with each other. Okay, we're thinking about all the different parts where things might start in their portfolio and then move on to planning, and then they get developed, and then they have tests run against them, and then we have the other side where we have the live maintenance and support, and how all these things interact and how they tell a greater story and how they ultimately affect the value that's delivered. They are all part of the larger value stream. And when you think about integrating them, what you're really thinking about is how the output from one system becomes the input of another system. The output of your portfolio would be your business objectives. And those business objectives, that's the output. Then they go over to your planning, where then you decide how you're going to fulfill those business objectives. And then you decide how you're going to do that by creating user stories and then creating tasks and moving on to development, so on and so forth. You do each of these things in one tool and then use the results from that to go do something in another. So again, that's it. That's it at its base form. That's it. That's all integration really is, right? What we don't want to do is we don't want to confuse the words integration and automation. They are different. Okay, they are two different words, and they are different concepts. Remember, as I said a moment ago, integration is only about taking one piece and making it part of a whole, right? That can be done manually if you really think about it. Now, before you laugh and say, yeah, right, actually stop and think about how often you're taking results from one tool and then manually copying it to another. Does that mean they're not integrated? I mean, by its definition, you've thought about the process, you've thought about how everything fits together. You know that you have to take these stories and go convert them over into some development tasks, but you might be doing that manually. But that's still, they're integrated because you've thought about that process and how one tool then leads into the next. That's still integration. So really, that's all it is. But you know, we've kind of taken the word integration and we've started to casually mean it as automatic synchronization. You know, that's something that we've kind of done as an industry. and they've kind of become synonymous, but they're really not. Integration, like I said, is a very cut and dry definition about just taking two things and making them part of a whole, where automation is something that's kind of different. Automation actually helps integration. Automation, let's take a look at that definition and see how it is different than integration itself. Automation, at its definition, is automatically controlling the operation of an apparatus, process, or system by some sort of mechanical or electronical device. And really, the point is that it takes the place of human labor. So even though we've kind of casually redefined integration to become synonymous with automation, they're really different. Integration is really just taking something and adding it to something else, whereas automation is really just about automatically doing something. Two different concepts here. Automation is all about automation, as I said, really enhances integration, and understanding how your processes are integrated will uncover where they can be automated. If you think back to the picture that I had earlier, I didn't show any automation between those different tools. I just showed the flow between them. But as you start to map that out, and as you start to understand how things flow between different tools, you can very easily start to uncover areas where automation can improve that integration. Of course, the benefits of automation: you can slash the manual effort required to do things, improve the time to value by getting things done faster and automatically moving things between the different systems. You can provide immediate feedback across teams by closing those feedback loops. If you have comments or discussions that happen in either side, that can flow back very easily. That enhances the collaboration between the teams as well, and hopefully cuts down on the talk time that you have during your status meetings, because you don't have to go dig up these records and go talk about them necessarily. You can really focus on just the exceptions rather than just always talking about status updates. And then perhaps most importantly is that it reduces the human error from manually moving something from one place to the next. So automation is, as I said, a different concept, but it is very important to integration. They really do go hand in hand, but they are still separate. Now let's go further and let's talk about the different types of automations that exist, especially in the value stream. Whenever we take a step back and we look at all the different things that can happen across the value stream, we can start to identify different practices, different methods of automating between different tools. A very popular one, of course, is something like synchronization. And usually whenever people refer to integration, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for synchronization. But really, synchronization is just a type of automation that will help with the integration of the tools. Synchronization, you're just copying something from one place to another. Simple definition there. But you can also do things like collect data. You can harvest data from different systems and go store it somewhere else. And you can do that automatically. So data collection is another type of automation as well. You can monitor from different tools, where what you're doing there is you're watching something and waiting for something to happen. You're waiting for a certain condition to be met. That's monitoring. When you monitor something, that's what you're doing. And then triggering, of course, is whenever you do something after a certain condition's been met. So it could play pretty well with monitoring, or it could be a completely standalone thing of its own. What you're doing when you're triggering is, as like I said, a certain condition's met, and then you go do kind of a one-time job someplace. I have a few examples of those too that we can provide. So synchronization could be when a user story in a planning tool is approved, and you want to synchronize that user story over to a development tool so that the development team can start to work on it. Now, optionally, the development team could make their updates. They're working in their tool, they make their updates, they progress the status, they check the code in, and those updates can flow back to the planning tool so that the planning tool knows the current state of things. And what that's doing is that's closing that feedback loop. So you've planned something in the planning tool, you're developing a development tool, you've synchronized the stories between them, and then the two teams can keep each other in in the loop all the time. So synchronization, of course, is a very powerful use of automation. You can also do things like collect data, and an example of data collection would be capturing information in real time about all of your different artifacts, requirements, tasks, tests, defects, all these different things, incidents, builds, jobs, all these different things, and understanding how the work flows across the value stream. So you'd capture this information from these different tools and aggregate it into one place. That way you can have a single source for doing all of your reporting. That's a thing that works very well with automation, because then you don't always want to go in and manually collect that data, right? How much time are you spending collecting that data from systems whenever you could just automate it and have an automated tool pulling that stuff for you? An example of monitoring would be watching a service on a server and making sure that it stays up. And if it goes down, go create an incident. Simple as that, monitoring. And then triggering is similar to that, but it's kind of on the other side. Triggering could be when I create a task in a planning tool. I want to create a task in a planning tool, and then when that task is approved, when it meets a certain condition, go execute a one-time job in a build management tool. An example could be, create a task in Jira, go create a build in Jenkins. Now you could have the results from that build flow back to the source as well, so that you know there in your planning tool whether or not the build was successful. So that's an example of triggering. So these are all things that can happen automatically, right? Synchronization, data collection, monitoring, and triggering, all different types of automations. So, but Jonathan, there's so many different tools to automate. There's so many different processes out there. There's a 1,000 tools for everything. And when we start to look at best of breed, if we think we've got the best of breed, and then somebody comes out with something tomorrow, and they say, I can do it better. And then you have another best of breed tool. So there's so many different tools out there. It can be a challenge to really sit down and start to look for, how am I going to automate this? Well, for that, let me introduce you to a concept called automation patterns. And automation patterns are really the key to delivering fast. Examples of this could be tracing requirements back to business initiatives, or it could be unifying a backlog, unifying defects in a backlog. It could be escalating incidents from an ITSM tool to a development tool so it can be fixed. I didn't say anything about which tools you were using in this. These are just the patterns. These are things you see as you start to analyze value streams. Multiple tools can be involved with incident management, with incident escalation. There's a lot of different ITSM tools out there and a lot of development tools out there. So, but they all have kind of that same process for that incident management. It can be used for all teams, all the way from PPM over into the DevOps world. So everybody has some pattern that they follow as they start to automate their value stream. If you can learn to recognize these patterns, it helps you identify and remove the waste quickly. It can accelerate the time to value of introducing new automations and new tools. And of course, it lets you have control over the flow of artifacts at all times. I wanted to give an example here in this slide that actually shows you what I mean. You can interchange the tools no matter what. This is an incident escalation pattern where company A is using ServiceNow and Jira, and here's how they have their incidents, and they need to escalate into Jira. But company B is doing the same thing, and company B is using Zendesk and Azure DevOps. They have tickets creating bugs. Doesn't matter what the two tools are in either system. They're both kind of following that pattern. They're following this incident escalation pattern. Something happens, it needs to be fixed. Let's go put it in the development tool. So the tools might be different, but the process is the same. And recognizing this pattern and understanding that this is a common occurrence, this is a common pattern across all companies who manage their incidents and support desks. Understanding that this is a pattern also helps us realize that this problem's already been solved. We know how to look at it. We know the right approach to take to automate this. And we know the recommended set of mappings and things that we should set up to flow or to help you get those incidents over into your backlog. Of course, ConnectALL also helps you to automate everything in your value stream. And this is what ConnectALL is all about, is it's connecting these different tools. It's identifying these patterns and helping you escalate your incidents, helping you synchronize your backlogs, helping you collect your data. It's also helping you monitor. It's helping you trigger. We have also a wide array of different automations, and we know all these patterns, and we can prescribe these patterns to you as we see them and as we lay out your value stream and know how to tackle this problem. So with that, that's it for our presentation today. If you do have any questions, of course, we do have the questions box, but I know that we're pretty much right at the 15 minutes. So if you've got to go, that's okay. But I do want to mention too that we have additional sessions in this webinar series. This one in particular was talking about automations and focused on automations. And the next one coming up next week is all about taking that to the next level. I talked about all the different flows and automations we can do. And next week, we're going to learn about how to use logic, how to use our logic adapters specifically to create that governance across the value stream and maintain compliance in your software delivery value stream. From there, we'll go on and talk about how we can expand across to any tool in the market using the universal adapter, how we can enhance, and then the week after that, how we can enhance the use of these automations with business scripting. And then finally, we'll talk about organization and how to manage your teams within something like ConnectALL as well, and how you can scale out across your entire organization and really begin to automate everything. So with that, I appreciate your time today. I thank you for joining us today. Pretty short and sweet. These webinars are designed to be pretty quick, at about 15 minutes or so. So I appreciate your time, and really thank you for joining me today. If you do have any questions, feel free to reach out to us at customersuccess@connectall.com or sales@connectall.com. And we'd be happy to address your needs and talk about how automation can help you achieve that value faster. You can sign up for any of our future webinars at connectall.com/events. And I hope to see you at the next one. With that, I hope you have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you next time.